with emotional hunger, you don't really stop when you're full. If you got a bag of chips and you eat 5, the next thing you know, the bag is empty, and you just, the crumbs down there.
Not the crumbs.
Like, what happened? It's the crumbs, because now it's mechanical.
Yeah.
You just eating. It's mindless eating, and you're not really conscious of what's going on in the moment.
Hello, my name is Elena, and welcome back to the Adulting Kitchen. If you don't quite feel like an adult, but you're still having to adult anyway and try to eat well at the same time without losing your whole mind, then this is the channel for you. The Adulting Kitchen is all about helping you create a healthy eating lifestyle, so do consider subscribing so that we can grow in the kitchen together. So right now I've got a familiar face here. If you've seen some of my previous videos, this is my lovely mother, Valencia.
Hello, everybody.
She's great. I love her. She has been my mom for a solid 25 years.
Wow.
She's been doing a great job at it.
You're so funny. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it.
She's also been a social worker for probably longer than she's been my mother.
Oh, much longer. Yeah, maybe 35 plus years.
35 plus years in the social work game. And now you've stepped into a new arena recently. It's been like maybe a couple of years. She's been at an eating disorder clinic counseling young girls that are struggling with different types of eating disorders for various reasons. So she does that for her 9 to 5 throughout the week, and then on the weekends and in the evening time, she's working on her own business.
Right.
It's called Willow Grace Wellness. This is
Yes.
her private practice, her and her partner, Tangi, and they've been doing a great job.
Hey, Tangi.
So they've been doing that for about a year. They just celebrated a year of that this summer, actually.
Right.
So you got anything else you want to
No,
share about you?
She gave me all the deets about me. Yes, I'm retired from UAB, 27 years there, and second career, like she said, in eating disorders, and trying to launch a private practice. So staying busy.
Awesome. So, you're probably wondering, why am I giving you all of my mother's credentials on today?
Credentials.
Well, this is because we are going to talk about emotional eating today. I know it's something that I have personally struggled with, and a lot of people my age, young people, we deal with a lot of stressors nowadays, especially with social media, stepping into adulthood for the first time. Sometimes it can be a little stressful. And me personally, one of my personal struggles has been trying to navigate the space of not relieving the stress with food. That's something I grew up doing. I shared this in one of my previous videos where I talked about my experience with cravings and just my journey to a healthier lifestyle. And if you have not seen that, I will link that in the description so I can kind of get you caught up in that area. But I did talk a little bit about managing stress and emotional eating in that segment, but I wanted to dive a little bit deeper into it with a professional, and I'm just so grateful to have one in my whole home. So it's amazing. So we're gonna let her chit chat with us about emotional eating, what we can do about it, what is it, kind of dive into that. And yeah, tell us, what is emotional eating?
Simple yet complex question.
Yeah.
Basically, in its purest form, emotional eating is when we as people, all of us, myself included, we choose to use food to satisfy ourselves and deal with emotions, versus just using food for what it's supposed to be for, which is nutrients and just satisfying hunger.
How do we get to that point? What are some things that kind of lead people into looking for that food for, feeling that vice and stuff like that?
Get into that?
Yeah.
Well, for me, I know a lot of people think it's habitual, that people just feel like, well, not necessarily habitual. First off, most people think that you just don't have any self-control. And it's not just about not having self-control. That might be a little component of it. But I think for the most part, we're all kind of preconditioned to use food as a reward system. You just mentioned earlier that, it stems back for you to childhood. Well, I think it stems back to all of us. to childhood, because we use food as a reward system. If you think about being a kid, we give kids candy or snacks or whatever because they did good on a report card, or we give them candy or snacks because they were good, or we give them cookies because they required at church or whatever. So we learn this behavior of using food to make us happy, or we get food because we did something that was good. And once we start doing that, we associate it now with when we also may feel bad because we use it to celebrate.
Yeah.
We eat at weddings, we eat at parties, we eat at graduations, we eat food for everything. We just celebrate all the times, happy times with food. So what we tend to do is when we get in bad times, we also want to perpetuate that same cycle of making us feel better by eating.
To kind of play off of that, what are some of the ways that we engage in emotional eating? Like, I guess maybe some scenarios or something like that.
Well, kind of like what I just talked about, we use food to celebrate and for happy things, but then we fall into the trap of using it for bad things. So then now we're doing more stuff like we're eating to fill a void, or we're eating to avoid feeling feelings altogether, or to numb our feelings. When you think about it, even in sad times, we use food. You think about a funeral. What do people do? They bombard you with food. Food is for comfort. They feel like food is going to make you feel better. It's not only a convenience for you because you need it, you don't feel like cooking, but it's the idea that comfort food is going to make you happy again. And so we tend to use food inappropriately sometimes, even on a day-to-day basis, with stress, with studying, with school, with work. You know, we just look for different ways to fill that void by eating because it's convenient, it's easy, it's accessible, but it also can be damaging to us long term if you do it in excess.
We're talking about it stemming like from childhood and stuff like that, so it graduates to your adult life and it kind of manifests there. And a lot of us don't really recognize that until we get into our adult life. So I just want to know, maybe from a parent standpoint, as an adultier adult, is that something that it's a lot of stuff that goes into raising a child, right? Is that even something that you even think about? No. Most parents don't think about it,
No,
right?
Emotional eating is totally an unconscious behavior. I mean, people don't intentionally set out to emotionally eat. People don't intentionally set out to create this reward system with their kids based around food. It's just that, hey, you did good, let's celebrate, or hey, I just got paid, let's go eat. Or hey, whatever the situation is, we're gonna celebrate around food. That goes back to biblical. I mean, you had the Last Supper, they ate. It's a time of fellowship. So we use it for fellowship, but also it can be misused and mismanaged when we're doing it in place of actually dealing with emotions that are causing us harm. If we're stuffing emotions, if we're numbing out emotions. I mean, I even have clients that will say, food controls my life. It is the center of my life. Well, now you're at a point where you need to really figure out am I eating to live or am I living to eat? Because that's a whole different thing. And if we're just living to eat because you're always thinking about the next food item or the next place I'm going to satisfy this craving I have, then, we're using food for the wrong reason.
What is the difference between emotional hunger and physical hunger?
Well, let's see. For me, talking to the dietitians at my job, one of the things that they tend to pinpoint, like 4 areas to look for to kind of distinguish between the two. With physical hunger, and many of you probably have experienced this, I know I have, and you probably have too. With physical hunger, it is gradual. You may have eaten something at 7 o'clock, but you'll notice around 11 o'clock, your stomach may start to growl or you start to have hunger pains or something. So it's gradual. With emotional eating, it is abrupt, it's sudden, it's like immediate. That's a way you can tell the difference. With with physical hunger, you don't care what you eat. You ever been hungry and you said, man, I gotta eat. You know, I just really need something to eat. Well, what you want to eat? I don't care. Just, go there. Right there. I want to eat that. You know,
right.
That's fine. You know, but with emotional hunger, it's more very specific. You know, you tend to want this certain thing right then. Again, it's sudden. I'm finna get up. I'm going to Sonic now. You know, or something like that. It's very sudden. With physical hunger, it is you are satisfied. Once you eat, you know, you're happy. You can go on about your day. You stop when you're full. That's a big indicator too. With emotional hunger, you don't really stop when you're full. If you got a bag of chips and you eat 5, the next thing you know, the bag is empty and you just, you know, the crumbs down there.
Not the crumbs.
Like, what happened? You know, it's the crumbs because now it's mechanical.
Yeah.
You just eating. It's mindless eating and you're not really conscious of what's going on in the moment. And then one of the last indicators for me too is, and most people, is when you eat for physical hunger, there's no guilt. You know, you eat, you ate, you full, you good, you go. When you eat a whole bag of potato chips and you didn't intend to, it just kind of disappeared and you was there. Now, man, this sucks. I'm a bad person. I shouldn't be eating like this. I'm gonna be a fat pig. You know, then the internal dialogue starts, and then we have to deal with that. So another thing too, we need to think about when you think about research too, with eating, is that fatty foods like chips and things like that, sugary sweet foods, they set off chemical imbalances in the brain too. Right. It's kind of like cocaine almost, or like an addiction to like gambling or something. There are chemicals that are released in your body that make you crave it even more. So whereas you might have eaten one ice cream cone when you were sad, the next time you sad, now you got a bowl. You know, or the next time it's like really bad.
Now
you
we
know,
got the whole gallon.
Now we got a pint. Now we got a half a gallon. You know, so it's like once you start satisfying yourself when you are emotionally distraught with food, your body starts to crave whatever that is even more. And you got to continue to give yourself more and more of it to try to get your emotions under subjection. And before you know it, it's kind of spiraling out of control. So I think it was Sigmund Freud that said that we all as human beings have an innate need to experience pleasure over pain, and food is pleasurable. It tastes good. It's appealing to our palate, you know, for the most part. But we're gonna seek the things that we like, right? You know, so that's the pleasure principle according to Sigmund Freud. I know y'all thought it was Janet Jackson. You know, that was 1986, but Freud created the pleasure principle back in 1800s. We all want pleasure over pain. So if we're going to seek pleasure and we want to make ourselves feel better with food, then we're going to eat those sweetie foods. We're going to eat those sugary foods. We're going to eat those high-fat foods that make us feel good because we want to feel good. We don't want to feel sad. We don't want to be bored. We don't want to feel the rejection, the hurt, the grief, all the things that we feel that we tend to use food for that we shouldn't. I remember when I was in college, and if I was going through something, breakup or whatever, I wasn't doing this for a living. But now that I think back on it, I was probably emotional eating, because if I had a breakup or something like that, then I would go to all the fast food places and get the one thing that I liked from that place. So it's like
you put in a lot of work.
Oh yeah, but I was doing the doggone thing. I was going to Burger King to get a double cheeseburger. I was going to McDonald's to get their fries. I went to Wendy's to get the Frosty. I mean, I'm doing work. And I can remember one time I wanted a caramel sundae so bad, and McDonald's had took them off the menu.
No, they didn't.
And I was like, no, God, it's not there. I went to like 4 McDonald's. No, I did not pray. I went to 4 McDonald's thinking that particular McDonald's had made a mistake. You know, and that surely somebody
it's still on the menu.
Got this. But that was one of those things that I used to make myself feel better back then. And now that I look back on it, and now that I'm doing this for a living, I'm like, you know what? I probably was emotionally eating during that period and did not know it. It was to suppress emotions and to help myself deal with hard feelings that I did not want to talk about, deal with, maybe did not even have somebody to go to talk about them with. And so it was comfort. And people do it every single day.
I experienced that in college as well.
College
be having a lot going on.
College
have a lot going on.
I was your counselors on campus.
I was involved in a lot of things, not bad things. You know, I'm just always very active, so it's always a lot going on. Doing work, stuff like that. And I thought, you know, I was doing good by having healthy snacks. You know, I've always been a relatively healthy eater for the most part.
Since 5. She used to eat Roma tomatoes and cucumbers and baby carrots at school when she was 5.
Honestly,
for lunch.
I was built for this. But
she was. I was not.
But, you know, I haven't always had this knowledge of what emotional eating was. So, you know, at that time, I'm like, oh, well, you know, I'm not eating a whole bag of hot fries. I'm eating a whole bag of almonds. Psh,
yeah.
I'm good. No, I'm not good. You know, I'm still, you know, using that as a coping mechanism, whether it was a healthy thing or not. And then with the fact that it's still mindless, like I'm eating probably way more calories than I would have, you know, in that bag of hot fries.
Right. Moderation was not.
It was not in my caliber. So at that point, you know, it really don't matter if you're eating something that's more nutritious or whatever. You need
when you do it in excess, it's the same thing.
Exactly. Is there anything more that you want to add to signs that we can look for to determine if we're emotionally eating or not?
Well, just, I guess, some basic fun facts when you think about emotional eating and things that you select. I found it interesting, an article that I read that kind of gave some fun facts about foods that people tend to choose based on what the mood is you're dealing with. So I thought that was kind of cool. So, when I thought about it, it made perfect sense, because one of the things they talk about when people are happy, a lot of times they tend to eat pizza. So you think about your birthday parties, you think about time with your friends, football, you know, things like that, social times when it's fun and laid back. Pizza, you know, I haven't seen anybody take a pizza to a funeral. I haven't seen that, so that made sense. That pizza is happy, you know. And it also talked about sadness is more around dairy, so you tend to eat more ice cream and stuff like that when you are sad. Cookies was another one that they indicated that you tend to crave and want more of when you're sad. So that was pretty cool. Now, if you're trying to be all health conscious and stuff, and I know you probably seen this on TV, you ever seen the chick that's sad and she crying and she go to the refrigerator, what she get out?
Some whipped cream.
Same thing. It's
got
dairy.
In my freezer.
Yeah, so a lot of people that's health conscious will use whipped cream in the place of ice cream because they still trying to be a little mindful, but they still using it for the wrong reason. Right. So then you have other things, and I'm very guilty of this one because I'm at home by myself, empty nester, is bored. When you're not doing anything and you're bored and you don't have anything to do, now you're looking for salty and crunchy. So those things right there are kind of go-tos when people are bored. So being able to connect with not just yourself, but maybe recognizing some of the foods you want or you crave in that moment may be beneficial to helping you know what it is that you're struggling with at that moment. Another two that was interesting, of course, women always do ice cream, but they like chocolate too. So that's a big one for women. But I found it interesting, they talked about men liked hot foods.
A little spice?
Men, not necessarily spicy, but hot.
Oh, just like
steak. Like grill food
like
and things like that. Temperature. Men tend to gravitate. Yeah, I thought that was interesting too. So men tend to gravitate more to hot foods, which would make sense, especially if you got this habitual griller who they always out there. They cook all the meat in the house. You might need to check in with yourself. Yeah.
The big question, the reason that we're probably all here, you know.
Why we here? I'm here because you told me to come.
Big question.
Big.
How we stop it? How do we
pray mightily?
No. Pray. I mean, do that too.
Yeah,
but
yeah, God and prayer and food and all the things.
It all. I mean, he created our bodies, right?
Right.
So he knows how to handle them. Definitely that. But some practical tips, right?
Practical tips. First of all, I guess the biggest thing is awareness.
Mm-hmm.
Being aware that it's a possibility that you could be emotionally eating, knowing and recognizing some of the signs that we talked about earlier in the presentation that you can start to look for in yourself. And being mindful about how you eat. If you do the hand to mouth thing, you know, I tell my clients, learn to put your fork down. Mm-hmm. You know, stop in between bites. Don't just do the hand to mouth and mindlessly eating. You want to practice breathing in between and just chewing your food multiple times. You're supposed to chew it 32 times, I think, anyway. But if you just, you know, chew, swallow, then that's a part of the mindless eating thing too. So just being more engaged with that, checking in with yourself. I tell clients sometimes, if you are a big fast food person eating on the go, high stress, before you get in the drive-through line and just order the whole left side of the menu, pull over, check in with yourself and find out what you're feeling. How am I feeling before you order? And be conscious of what you order versus just getting everything that's being offered, or they're telling you, oh, well, do you want the mega drink for $1? And you just say yes when you really don't need all that sugar just because it was $1. So being mindful of things of that nature. In therapy land, we have people do things like a food mood journal, which is recording what you eat as well as checking in with what your mood was before you ate it and after. Now that can be very difficult for people to do, and they don't want to really face the reality of what's going on, but you know, in certain situations it can be very beneficial. So just little things that you can do just to be more mindful. I think savoring food when you eat, making the most of it, so that it lasts, so you don't have to keep replenishing and eating more of it. Learn to savor it, the little bit that you do have. Think about, what does it look like? What does it taste like? What are the flavors that you notice? What's the texture? That's mindful eating, when you can sit with your food and absorb all of those things in one piece of pie. Versus, you know, eat it real fast, it's gone, and you don't even know you ate it, so you go get another one. You know how I eat lemon pie from Johnny Ray's.
Eat it super
Jimmy
slow.
Nick's.
Jimmy Nick's.
Yeah. Oh my God. I eat it so slow because it's like every little morsel. I'm just like, and I may not get it again for 6 months because I have enjoyed that one piece.
Yeah, that was the point I was going to make. I mean, when you enjoy it slow, you know, and really take in with all your senses and stuff like that, you're satisfied. You're satisfied for a good while. Like, I really enjoyed that. Like, it became a whole experience. It wasn't you just, you know, trying to fill a void or doing whatever, thinking mindlessly. You were thoughtful about going to get it. You were like, I'm going to enjoy this time. And then you went out and did it. And I do the same thing. I talked about in one of my other videos that, you know, I still like to enjoy the stuff that I like. I love cookies. I love French fries. You know, I'll enjoy it in small portions here and there, and that's how I'll do it. You know, I'll take my time like, ooh, this is a good fry. They really salted that thing real good, right?
It's funny.
Yes. The whole time. And then I'm good for another 3-4 months.
Yes.
I don't need it anymore.
Savor your flavors. The biggest thing too is learning how to get in touch with your emotions.
Right.
And not be afraid to deal with whatever it is that you need to deal with. If you're using food to cope for reasons like, you know, just sadness, depression, anxiety, rejection, grief. If you're using food for those purposes, then you really need to reassess using food in that manner and really learn to get in touch with your emotions and what you're feeling, and not be afraid of those feelings, because it's okay to not be okay. And a lot of people don't feel like they can, so they stuff it with food or stuff their emotions and or distract themselves with work or whatever they do. You know, there's so many coping tools that people can use that are practical that people don't really think anything of, but they're still used inappropriately to mask the truth that you really need to be dealing with.
At what point do you think we should seek professional help? If we're maybe having problems deciphering that for ourselves, like
I'm sorry, I got a joke. I'm sorry.
What's the joke?
Call me, Alabama. No. Ooh, I might get in trouble.
Only Alabama people,
Yeah.
This is not sponsored by Alexander Shannon.
It's not. I think just if someone else notices a problem and brings it to your attention, don't be defensive about it. Consider it that's a possibility. Watching this video and listening to some of the things that have been said, if it resonates with you and you going, that sounds like me, maybe you want to check in with an outpatient therapist just to see if you struggle with food. Go online, plenty of questionnaires out there that you can take little surveys and find out what your relationship is with food, and if the survey gives you a number that exceeds what they think is recommendable for most people, then you might want to consider some help. If you have excessive weight gain, consider the source and maybe get some help. So those are just some of the things that you can look into to see if you need help. If you seek help and don't need it, great, wonderful. But if you seek help and you do need it, then know that the resources are there for you, and it can be outpatient. What you don't want to happen is it to spiral into a full-fledged eating disorder as documented in the DSM-5, because now that's a whole nother thing. Because I guess it is emotional eating can spiral into binge eating disorder, which is a whole nother level of disordered eating once you are now diagnosed with a full-fledged eating disorder. Then that's a whole nother level of treatment. Now you're looking at intensive outpatient treatment versus just seeing a therapist periodically, or you may be looking at partial hospitalization or some other extensive eating disorder treatment that you can stop from spiraling just at a emotional eating level.
All this sound real expensive. What is there some is there some low budget options for us that are, on a tight budget, but we're still recognizing that we need to seek this type of help?
What you asking me?
Any low budget counseling options?
Probably not.
So what do we do if we're in a space where we're not making a lot of money, but we're still needing this help? What is it?
There are therapists out there. I'm just saying, if you need to talk with someone for counseling purposes, there are many counselors out there that will work with you. People don't always look at it from that angle. If you have insurance, you can use your insurance. If you have a job out there where they have resources through your employer, definitely take advantage of those because they're free. If you work for somewhere like UAB or a company or Blue Cross or anywhere like that, they have people that you can go to. But then there are counselors out there who are willing to meet you where you are, and if you talk to them about what you're experiencing, they may not charge you the full fee if they're out there. So reach out to them first and find out. Some of them, and I've seen them, that say, well, what can you pay?
Yeah.
And they will meet you at your point of need. You have not?
Because you ask not.
Because you ask not.
You just gotta ask.
You gotta ask.
And see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
So for those that, we're based out of Birmingham, right? So for those in the Birmingham area, is there a way that they can get in contact with you if they like to connect with you on this issue, or just any local resources you can provide, as well as, any that you know of that are like nationwide for whoever might be watching this that might be in a different city or whatever?
Yeah, there are many eating disorder facilities throughout the United States. In our local area, I work with a Center for Eating Disorders here in Birmingham, so you can definitely look them up on the web and find out more information. If you feel indeed that you have eating disorder, you can be evaluated for that and seek treatment through a Center for Eating Disorders. But if you feel like you just have emotional eating issues or concerns, or you want to inquire about whether or not it's an issue for you, you can contact me at willowgracewellness.com. You can look us up that way on Facebook. You can look us up on the internet at willowgracewellness.com. My number is there, our information is there, and I'll be glad to meet with you to see kind of where you are with that. And if you do need something beyond outpatient services and you need treatment, then yes, I would be referring you to my 9 to 5, which is a Center for Eating Disorders.
And I will link that information for my Birmingham people in the description. So
yeah, it was fun.
This was fun. You're very smart, girl.
Oh,
She really know what she be talking about. Wow.
I try.
Wow.
It's kind of helpful to my clients too.
You know, I'm sure they're grateful for you. You know, and I'm glad that you were able to share this time with us.
Thank you for asking me.
You're so welcome. I really hope that you were able to gain something that you're going to be able to use throughout your life. Recognize where you might be emotionally eating, and some things that you can take away that will, you know, help you overcome that. If you liked this video, please leave us a thumbs up. And you can comment if you want to share your love, give some thanks, and
make an appointment.
Make an appointment. Okay, anything else you can comment below. We can chit chat about it. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.
Peace.